welcome on into the Squires Station podcast. I'm Davey Squires, and this week we're with Angela Marie, founder of Ruby Blues Art.
That's right.
And just to start off this week, what do you do over at Ruby Blues?
I started it back in 2010. I started out making jewelry, which I still do. These are a new edition I just made recently. I started painting. I got really into resin art a couple years ago, and I joined this amazing facility in Akron called the Akron Makerspace, which has been just a game changer when it comes to creating. If you haven't heard of it, please check them out because they're amazing. I've been doing a lot of different things. I don't know. I'm not a decisive person, so I like to do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So just choosing one route. So it's a little bit of everything. I do some home decor, mainly paintings. I've been making resin incense burners and clocks and things lately, so that's been fun.
Yeah. So what would you say is your favorite kind of mode of art?
Like I said, I'm such an indecisive person. I love, video. I love, I don't know if you're familiar with Meg Stepka, her virtual music hour festival and her projections. Everything's beautiful. But really, I love color. I love self-expression. I use a lot of nature as inspiration and play with color. So, like I said, it's a little bit of everything. I'm not the type of person to choose one route ever. So it kind of reflects that.
Yeah, I've actually had Meg on the show. I think it's been about a year or so, but yeah, she's great. She does all kinds of stuff, like things you wouldn't think.
Mind blowing.
But I can definitely tell you guys are kind of similar in that kind of, you guys do art that you wouldn't think of usually in terms of making art. Like it's not just like a canvas. It's kind of just like you do whatever you want, and that's really cool.
Well, cool.
So how'd you get into kind of that resin stuff?
Honestly, social media. I had seen a lot of other people making it, and I started buying molds a couple years ago. It was just kind of a new medium to try. Like I said, I started mainly with jewelry and things like that, and I've painted forever, and I got really a lot more into that. Especially the last year, I did a lot of glow-in-the-dark paintings and UV reactive stuff, so that was kind of my experimentation last year, and I kind of dove a lot deeper with the resin, just with the types of molds that I was getting and the products that I could create. Like right now, I've been focusing on these incense burners, which I'm pretty obsessed with.
Yeah, I did see that recently on your page. Yeah.
They're fun, a little something extra. You can get the little plain wooden ones, which are nice too, but like these have a little bit more personality. But it's really just a lot of trial and error. It can be very temperamental sometimes. Yeah. So there were plenty of things that did not make the cut over the last couple years for sure, but it's all been a good learning experience.
Yeah. So depending on like what type of art it, like what medium it is, how do you begin a piece? Is there like, do you think about it before you do it, or do you just do it?
I keep a sketchbook on me at all times.
Yeah.
And so, when inspiration strikes, I'll usually sketch out kind of a basic idea if I'm like at work or just kind of sitting around, so that I have some ideas to brainstorm. It's, you know how it is just being creative, like with music, it's just always on your mind. So it just depends on when it strikes, and you document it, you plan. Yeah. When it comes to resin, it's something that requires a lot of patience, which I don't always have. I'm always very excited for the end result, and I'll try to rush it. And so resin has definitely been a lesson in some patience, just making sure to get each layer cured at a time and making sure everything's mixed properly, because if not, it'll just stay sticky forever. And it's like a lot of trial and error.
Is there kind of like a favorite piece of yours you've done?
Technically, my favorite one isn't one that is part of Ruby Blues necessarily. It would be Baby Ruby Blues when I was like 17. I actually did it back in high school. We did like a musical self-portrait, and so I made this.
Ooh, yeah.
Which is entirely made out of cardboard, and it's like a musical self-portrait, so it has a bunch of bands decoupaged to the back of it.
That's cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd say that's probably one of my all-time favorite pieces. As far as resin and current stuff that I've been working on, I make a lot of serving / rolling trays, and those have been a lot of fun. So I started this one recently. I don't know with the light, but they're like, I've been using a lot of botanicals and natural elements.
Yeah. That does kind of remind me of some of the stuff that Meg does.
Oh yeah.
That's like kind of the same color scheme almost.
Yeah. Never settle on just one color. There's always a lot of contrast and grabbing your attention from all angles.
Yeah. So you don't go for like one color scheme. You kind of just do the whole spectrum of it.
Pretty much. That's how a lot of my art is in general. I really love contrast, so I like to use a lot of different bright complementary colors, and then I like to go in with like black or white and add contrast, like the mandala paintings that I started doing a couple years ago, which are kind of like therapy on a canvas too. It's very relaxing and a lot of detail that goes into it.
So when it comes to like painting stuff, is there like a subject matter you go for, like a certain subject you paint?
Like I said, I love nature. Like, for example, I have a couple paintings. I have a couple art showings coming up soon. This month, there's a company called Kinetic by Windstream, like the internet provider, and they've opened up their office space to feature local artists. So I'm going to be displaying that with my own little Ruby Blues mini gallery coming up soon to put those pieces for sale. You can kind of see, like this one's a good example of like the landscape.
Oh, nice. Oh, I love the color. I love the colors in that. That's cool.
Yeah. It's actually glow reactive too. This one all has UV reactive paint on the underlayer, so it's really cool. The moon glows in the dark, and it's on this natural live edge wood, which I've been getting really into instead of canvases.
Yeah.
So, like I said, there's always like a nature element. This is another one I'm partial to that also glows. It's kind of a feminine mystique type of painting.
Oh yeah.
But a bunch of little details. I'm a detail person for sure. So
yeah. Do you ever go back to like a certain piece and kind of like if you see it, like how I like sometimes I write a song and then I like leave it off for a while and I come back to it and I'm like, this song needs more. Do you ever do that with art? Like kind of go back
always.
To a piece? Yeah.
It's always multiple layers. I always tell everybody, like, every painting that I do was probably 3 paintings underneath of that first,
Yeah.
Because you just stare at it, and we're all perfectionists. I feel like every artist, whether it's music or, visual art, we're our own worst critics. And so the longer we sit at it until it sells, we'll make changes. That's kind of how it works. Like this one was a little bit different at first, but this one has glow-in-the-dark chakras that go up. Like a meditative thing. So I do a lot of like meditation and nature and mandalas, sort of like this one.
Ooh, that's a nice pattern.
Thank you. I actually have that tattooed on me too. I designed that when I was like 18.
Oh wow.
It's just kind of something I come back to. This one glows in the dark, but it's kind of reverse where the background glows instead of the forefront. So it makes an interesting glow.
So you work with a lot of UV paint and stuff like that?
Yeah, like I said, I got more into that last year. I was working a lot of music festivals, as you know, and obviously that's a good crowd for it, especially with the black lights and everything. It's like 2 paintings in one, so
yeah,
it's kind of nice to give it that double feature and depth so you can enjoy it in different lighting and different spaces and kind of experience it all over again.
Yeah. So how would you say like painting at music festivals, how has that kind of changed your art style? Would you say it has changed since then?
Yeah, it's kind of like it was a learning curve to the extent that like basically I kind of started thinking about, all right, what do people really want? Who's my audience? Who am I painting for? Because I want to do it and be true to myself as well. And I kind of took a break from festivals after last summer to just explore. And that's where the Makerspace has come in. If you're not familiar with them, they have everything. There's a welding lab, a wood shop, there's a photo studio, a crafts lab, electronics. I mean, you can make anything you want there. And it's really opened things up to be able to have a consistent workspace, and you're surrounded by other creative people. Like everyone there is so nice. We all help each other and give tips and share materials. They have a lot of donations, and it's a really, really cool community to be a part of for sure.
Yeah. Speaking of the local community, something I just thought of. Was there a fire? There was a fire like a month ago or something in Rootstown. Somebody's studio in a building burned down. I think I saw something
Oh no.
like that on Facebook or something.
I didn't hear about it, but that sounds terrible. I
Oh,
hope
okay.
everything's okay.
I thought you knew about it.
I wish them the best. I'm ill-informed.
Oh my gosh. Well, like since I'm here in Montana, like everything in terms of like the local Ohio scene kind of just goes by my head like oh
Right.
that's like 30 hours away. I don't
Right.
Yeah. But what I was going to ask is how did you get into art? Like what was your first kind of just like steps in art?
That's a good question. I was really fortunate. My dad was always a singer and an artist, and I'm basically a female clone of my dad, essentially. So I started really young. He and I would sing on stage together when I was like 4 years old. Was probably my first stage experience, and ever since I got a taste, that's a big part of my life now too. And I'm always singing constantly. I just had a big audition recently that I can't share too many details about, but I'm excited for it.
Oh, nice.
But as far as visual art, I actually still have, my dad passed away years ago, but I have his high school portfolio, and I have these two pieces that he did
Oh, wow.
a long time ago. But he was a very talented painter, so he taught me a lot of, tricks and things. I grew up watching Bob Ross and, things like that just to kind of explore. And every year for Christmas, all I would ask for are art supplies. It's just kind of always been a part of me,
Yeah. I was gonna ask who are you looking up to growing up? Bob Ross. That's great.
Bob Ross is definitely a big one. I'm a sucker for wholesome content, and Bob Ross was definitely that.
Yeah.
As I've gotten older, Alex Gray is a fascinating inspiration. I grew up like in a medical family. My mom was like a nurse. I grew up around hospitals, and I love anatomical art. I kind of wanted to do that for a while just because it's fascinating how things naturally occur and the sacred geometry that's just present everywhere. And Alex Gray is able to capture not only like the physiology of the human body, but like he can capture auras and feelings, and it just blows my mind. So he's been a big inspiration. I'd say a lot of my art took inspiration from an artist named Rex Ray. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
Mm.
But he does a lot of really kind of psychedelic looking, like collage type pieces of art. So a lot of my earlier stuff kind of reflects that, and it's a little bit of everything. Like I said, social media, things come across you and spark inspiration. You're like, wow, I could really do something with that, but tweak it this way and maybe use these materials instead. So it's like a constant brainstorm.
Yeah. You can definitely get inspiration from just about anything in everyday life. It's kind of
For
just
sure.
kind of just there.
Yeah. Like I said, I always incorporate nature. I'm a big hiker, and every time I hike, I'm always that person who's stopping and taking photos on their hike and, stuff like that. Just the nice contrast of colors and the natural shapes. It's all of it's inspiring. It's everywhere.
Yeah. You mentioned Bob Ross, and there's like a Bob Ross looking kind of picture behind you. It's like a
Oh, yeah.
it's like a tapestry.
My little tapestry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Gotta have the fork.
The trees look like Bob Ross.
They totally do. Happy little trees.
Yeah. Were you one of the people that like bought his paint, like his paint set?
I did not. And one thing, I don't know if you've seen the documentary
Yeah.
on Netflix this last year, but it was like really sad that they exploited him so much. So now I've never bought his brand, and now I won't, because he's not the one benefiting from it. So I tend to go for, not the cheapest stuff, but I'll go to like Joann's or, typical kind of craft store paint. I work mainly with acrylic just because I always do a lot of layers. And like I mentioned, I don't always like to spend like a month on a single painting. So instead of oil waiting for every layer to dry, I tend to work with a lot of acrylic, which was fun to add in the glow acrylics. That's more readily available than it used to be. So it makes for a fun time.
Yeah. I was going to ask, have you ever worked with like giant canvases? Like I've seen like these giant like 30 by 26 foot canvases that artists work with, and I have no idea how they approach that. Like,
I've worked with, not that large, like the one piece I showed you over here of the musical self-portrait, that's 4 feet tall by 2 feet wide.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the biggest that I've done. But I've done some murals in the past. I really want to get more into murals again. So I'm kind of starting with my apartment now, just blueprinting some ideas just to kind of have more practice, build a portfolio for that. Because I would love to do like a city mural or something like that downtown.
Yeah. Going back to how you started, like, what's the first, like, did you start just by painting? Like, what was the first medium you started with?
You know, it really depends because, you know, art schools in class, you kind of do a little bit of everything. So, you know, you learn how to paint, you learn how to draw, you learn how to use like clay and different materials. And I kind of have like an engineering mind, so I'm able to like reverse diagram like, you know, those exploding diagrams
Yeah.
that they have. That's kind of like what appears in my head, and then I can piece it all together and then draw it out and then I'll, you know, create it. But as far as Ruby Blues and wanting to kind of turn it into a real, not necessarily even just like a business, that wasn't really the goal in the beginning, but I actually had taken a trip to San Juan. I was like on a cruise years ago, and I got this wire wrap ring. It was like a really thick gauge blue wire wrap ring that I still have, because it was a big motivator. I started making wire wrap rings, like the little nest kind, which I still sell, and then I added in earrings. I started doing necklaces, and then I kind of got less into the jewelry just because it's tedious, and, you know, I don't have like the most dainty fingers, so
Yeah.
it can be painful sometimes just, you know, working with those tools constantly. But I started getting into painting kind of more like as therapy. It's just very soothing to do, and I love decorating and adding lots of color, just like your background, you know.
Yeah.
It's nice to be surrounded by that all the time. But yeah, it's kind of, I'm all over the place, and my art has been too.
Yeah. That's definitely cool though, that you kind of explore different mediums of art.
Yeah.
That's
I'm not the type of person, I can't settle on one.
Yeah. So when did you start Ruby Blues?
That was 2010. That was pretty much after I was so inspired by that ring, and I was able to kind of reverse engineer it to figure out how to make it myself. And I just went and bought a mandrel, which is like that little, you know, sizing tool that you wrap around. And I started just making rings, and it kind of went off from there. I was like, all right, I want to add some more options. So I started making earrings, which I still do. Got kind of away from the necklaces and stuff and like less beaded jewelry. Now I make some resin jewelry and things like that instead, just using different materials. Like I said, you know, it's all a journey. So you learn a little bit every time. And, you know, earrings I made 10 years ago compared to earrings I'm making now are very different. So
Yeah.
kind of a cool range. But that was what started it. The name was originally Angelique Adornments. Just obviously a play on my name, unique pieces, and just a fancier, you know, thesaurus word for jewelry. But that was, as far as like from a marketing standpoint, that was difficult because those are uniquely spelled words, which are hard to promote, you know. And I changed it to Ruby Blues probably maybe 8 years ago, something like that, which is Ruby Blue is a song by an Irish singer named Roisin Murphy. And it's really funky, and I just love the vibe of that. So that's where the name kind of came from. And it's just been Ruby Blues ever since. Now it's Ruby Blues Collaborative, because I like to work with different artists, and I like to do custom pieces working with the customers. So
yeah, that's what I was gonna ask is what's kind of the coolest piece you ever made for somebody, like a collab?
I was a big fan of the Christmas ornaments that I made last year, actually. They were little, like, wood slices with the live edge around them.
Oh, okay.
And there was this photo from the 1940s of, like, a couple kissing, but they had gas masks on. And I like unexpected elements.
That's industrial.
It was really fun. And then those had glow-in-the-dark features also, and I offered custom ones. My friend Kim, for example, had me do a custom one of her and her boyfriend Joe, which is great. You know, I had her tattoos and her hair color, and I love personalizing art. That's probably my favorite thing to do, is to work with a customer and make it nobody else's, you know, something you won't see anywhere. I did another one for her friend that was kind of inspired by Tank Girl, the old comics. And it just says fucking 2020 on the bottom. The gas masks were kind of appropriate, you know, for what's been changing in our world lately. So it was kind of a joke, but I really enjoyed making those because they were so detailed and personalized.
Yeah, that's cool. Did obviously like things have slowed down because of the pandemic, but how are you doing with that? How's the art business going?
It's going well. Like I said, after all the festivals last year, those were when I was like really just focusing on selling and just kind of getting the name out there a little bit more so it's recognizable and I have more of a portfolio. I feel like for me with it being a business, I'm just constantly building a portfolio, and it's so nice looking back year after year at all the things that I've made and things I was going through when I made it, the things that inspired it. So right now, I mean, sales hasn't really been the focus. I really wanted to slow down, take a step back, and focus on just really exploring art, with different materials. And again, that's where the makerspace comes in handy. I've been making charcuterie boards and cutting boards now, so that's an entirely different realm of crafting and
Yeah.
art. But I love woodworking, so it's really fun. I'm going to be taking a lathe class soon and a welding class, so I can start making light fixtures and small furniture.
Dang.
Like, I'm all over the
Yeah.
place.
Soon you're just gonna be building whole houses, like.
Right.
Oh my
There's
god.
just an entire house, every inch covered in paintings and everything. That would be the dream.
That would be so cool. Like, just like an entire house, it's just art. Like the entire
Right.
house, even the roof is just art. Oh,
Right.
that'd be so
That's
cool.
the dream. Yeah, I like a little bit of everything. I never. I don't know. I'm a perfectionist. I work hard, and I just go all in with art. And I love just exploring options. And that's been the best thing for me, really figuring out like what type of materials I really love working with, trying new ones just to see how I can incorporate them. And it's really fun because no project is just one skill. It's all, there's drawing, there's painting, there's woodwork, there's measuring, there's all different steps that go into it. And so it's cool year after year as you accumulate skills, how you can combine them in different ways to make something totally new.
Yeah. Plus with that like portfolio, it allows you to see like what you have changed throughout the years, like what you've gotten better at in like a certain medium.
For sure. And the resin's been really fun because the painting is very tedious and does take time, but I really enjoy it. I'd say my favorite types of paintings are the mandalas that I do. But now that I've been starting these landscape ones on the wood slices, now that's kind of my new obsession when it comes to painting. And the serving trays used to be painted. Some of them obviously still are. The ones that I've already sold or given as gifts. But now working with resin and the dried flowers, that's kind of my jam right now.
Yeah.
Like
Now, did you just start the working on resin this past year?
No, I actually, my little memories on Facebook just alerted me that it's been 2 years since my first resin pour.
Oh wow.
And what I did then was I bought these little chocolate molds actually from Dollar General. I mean, nothing fancy or high end. And they were shaped like little hearts, and there were other ones that were shaped like these really cool, kind of like trapezoid, like 3D sort of trapezoids. And I didn't really know anything about the mica powder pigments that I use now to make these colors like really rich. So I would just do clear, and I would add beads that I had left over from making jewelry. So I had like skull-shaped beads that are in this clear little, thing, and I would turn those into refrigerator magnets so that they're practical. I like my art to also serve a function when it can. So
Yeah.
that was cool.
Yeah,
that was the first thing I ever did.
that's cool that you're doing like cutting boards too. Like, are you doing like full? Are you doing just like the? Do you do like the big cutting boards?
Yeah, so that was an adventure. I joined the Makerspace this past fall because it had been shut down for a while with COVID, and they had converted into PPE, like manufacturing, during all that going on. But they're at this new location in Canal Place, and it's like on the 5th floor of the building that Arche and Missing Falls breweries are at in downtown Akron. And so it's just really cool. It's a really neat vibe. It's a super old industrial type building, and their facility is huge. I mean, there's new ceramics department that's going to be starting. Like I said, you can do the electronics where you can build and wire things and solder, and they have a lot of the tools. They have a lot of classes that you can take. And I took the safety class for the wood shop. My dad, in addition to being an artist and a singer, was also a really good builder and welder. So I learned how to weld at a very young age, and I would help him with woodworking projects, young. And I hadn't really done a lot of that. So this past fall, I wanted to make cutting boards for my family for Christmas, and I made charcuterie boards that had kind of like a curved handle, and then it was probably, 18 inches long.
Dang.
And I started making those, and I have a wood burner. So for my sister-in-law, and my mom this year for Christmas, I made them each one. And then I took my wood burner and I put the Addams Family credo on it, which translates to "We gladly feast upon those who would subdue us." Yeah. So those were fun because it's an unexpected element, and it's all in Latin, so most people wouldn't know that's what it says.
That's like the equivalent to like it's like one of those people who have who are really religious but have they don't have no idea like what Latin is, and they just have these random religious Latin just quotes or whatever.
Right. With no context whatsoever. Yeah. It was fun. That's always been like a running joke. I have a silly family, and so it was definitely fitting.
Oh my gosh. So what is this? What is this like art space? Art creative?
Are you talking about the makerspace?
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah, it's called the Akron Makerspace. A friend of mine co-founded it, I believe about 10 years ago. They started small, just in a garage, like a lot of places, and they used to have a different facility in Akron that was a lot smaller, and I believe last year, I hope I'm remembering correctly, but I think last year they moved into this new location in Canal Place, and it's just absolutely beautiful, and it's huge, and it's such a cool organization. Like I said, everyone there has a completely different skill set. Obviously some overlap, but they have 3D printing, they have laser cutters, they have, just all these materials to where you can just unleash and make whatever the hell you want. And it just really opened up my whole world of creating. And that's why I want to get more into the furniture, and, I love wood and resin together. I would love to start making wood and resin tables and some light fixtures with maybe resin lampshades, or it's kind of sky's the limit. It can be whatever I choose to make it. So yeah, we'll see. But they're amazing. It's just $35 a month for membership. You can join online, and it's really cool. You get a locker storage space. Everything's very communicative. They have a board that makes decisions, and everybody can kind of have input. So it's a really great organization. I can't say enough good things about it. It's my favorite place on earth.
That's awesome. I think more places need that, just in general.
I feel like what holds a lot of people back is not having the right tools or enough space to do it. I've always wanted to do woodworking, but I live in an apartment. I can't be running bandsaws and literally, don't mind me, just creating an entire building right now. But it's cool to have a designated space, and you can go there pretty much any time when you become a member. And so I'll go there. I went there for New Year's Eve to just be by myself and create stuff and start off the new year with that tone. So it's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was gonna ask, for anybody just starting to do art itself, do you have any tips for them?
I like the saying that talent is a pursued interest. A lot of people will be like, "Oh, I'm no good," but I was no good for a long time, and practice, and don't be afraid to express yourself, because I feel like as artists we tend to be very critical of ourselves. Nothing's perfect, nothing's good enough, throw it away, even though other people would appreciate it. So I would just say, really think about what you want to say and then how you want to achieve that. And just kind of explore, play with different materials, see what feels right, see what you enjoy making, and kind of go from there.
Yeah. And having a portfolio, I think.
Yeah. And cool. It's fun to see your journey, even just, year to year. Like I said, I only started doing resin a couple years ago, and it started out so small and basic, and now mica powder has changed my whole life. It's basically the main ingredient in eyeshadows. And it's just this powder you can buy online, and there's all different colors. There are chameleon ones. Some of them have glitter in it. And so you can make all these different mixtures and create something entirely different with the resin.
I have an idea. How about a resin ceiling fan?
Oh my God, that would be so dope. I could do it. I'm looking at my ceiling fan now, and the wheels are turning,
It's possible.
It could be anything. Once it cures, it's polymer. That's the only downside to resin, is I feel bad when like a piece doesn't turn out okay, because then I'm just adding to the plastics problem in the world. So
Yeah,
that's the one downside to working with it. So I try to make sure, that's another reason I need to take my time with it and make sure it gets done right, so I'm not wasting the plastic. But it's nice because it's durable and they do hold up for quite a while.
Yeah. So what do you have coming up this year?
I have a couple things. I have the one at Kinetic by Windstream I mentioned. I'm going to be dropping off my pieces next week. I'm not sure of the exact dates, but I'll be posting about that, so people can go see them and purchase if they'd like. They can also contact me, obviously, on Facebook or Instagram. And then another big thing, actually, I'm very excited about. A friend had tagged me in this phone gallery, which I'm a big nerd for upcycling, and I love like old forms of media. And what they did is up in Cleveland, I'm not sure exactly where it is, but they have this bank of different payphones. And so it'll be like a giant, vertical rectangle. And within that, you can create your own entire mini gallery. So mine's going to have blacklight elements too. So it'll look like one gallery during the daytime, but then at night the black light will be on, and so it'll look completely different. They're kind of sealed in plexiglass, but there's a bunch of different artists, so you'll be walking down this block with all these payphones, and each one is a different artist, which is such a cool idea. So I'm really happy to be a part of that. I'll be installing it at the end of February, and my work will be on display all of March and April this year, so that's exciting.
Heck yeah, that's up in Cleveland?
Yep. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly where it's going to be located. I'll know a little bit more later in February when I go to install it. So right now I'm just kind of planning, and I need to get the dimensions of it so I can really figure out if I want to make like a scene in there or if I want to make it look like a little gallery. I'm still kind of playing around with different ideas, but it's fun. It's just a unique way to showcase your artwork. It catches the eye for sure.
I just came up with a really good question.
Awesome. Let's hear it.
So like for like you know how like authors have writer's block? Do you ever have just like creative block? Like what do you do if you have that?
Get frustrated.
Start throwing things.
Because it's like sometimes these ideas will be turning, and like even if I do already have a good idea, sometimes I'm just like maybe not in the mood to work on that particular piece, and so it's kind of like I'll get frustrated sometimes with the resin projects, for example. Like I mentioned, the resin is kind of trial and error. I've been wanting to make these clocks because, like I said, I love to make functional art. I feel like it adds a lot of value. So I started these with these moon phases, which is super cool. This one's obviously still in progress, but I mean, you can even see on here, I definitely get resin block because I'm like, oh, I should have done it this way. And then you have to wait 3 days to find out if it worked or not, So I definitely learned to pour the moon first and then the background layer, so it's a lot cleaner lines like this one.
Oh yeah. I like how the new moon is just like a circle. Like that's cool? That's cool.
Yeah. So different things.
Oh.
But yeah, I definitely get artist block for sure. It's a very real thing. You
make moons. That's what you do when you get artist block.
When I get angry, I make a moon. Let me tell you.
So that's gonna be a clock, like are the hands gonna be made out of something specific or?
No, I buy the clock mechanisms from like craft stores or hardware stores, and I have been doing them on resin as well. So or on vinyl, I mean. But this is just an old recycled record that I got.
Ooh, yeah.
And I wanted to do this like Art Deco design, so this one's gonna be a clock as well. I just have to get the mechanical pieces and arms, and then those will be up for sale on the websites. But like I said, never one material. I can't ever be held to one material.
That's really cool, though. I like that. We have something sort of like that at the radio station that I'm at, where it's like a clock record, but it's not nearly as cool as that. Like,
well, thank you very much.
That actually has a cool design on it. The one we have is just a record. What was that?
I love vinyl.
Oh yeah.
I have 3 record players, so I'm a big nerd about, like I said, like the older forms of media. I still have a VCR and watch VHS tapes, just for the nostalgia of the format. Like, everybody's like, what? There's 4K, there's HD now. And I'm like, yeah, but have you watched Happy Gilmore on a VHS as an adult? Because I can recommend it.
I like that lo-fi Happy Gilmore vibe, what I'm talking about.
That's what I go into life with. I start my day with that vibe.
I like that PS1 vibe.
Yes, original Crash. Let's get some Parappa the Rapper on here.
I think they just made a new. Did they just make a new game?
Did they?
I thought
that. Oh, I'm playing it if they did on someone else's system because I don't have one. But someone invite me over. I'm down.
I'm pretty sure that series is still going. I'm pretty sure it is.
It's so funny how like just parts of that will pop into your head randomly 20, 30 years later.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What else was I gonna ask? So you make moons.
Yes, I make moons.
What was I gonna ask? I had something in my brain and it left.
It'll come back. It'll be like a boomerang. When you least expect it.
Oh, so you're gonna do festivals again this year?
I haven't decided yet. I just like most of us adults, I have a full-time job that takes up at least 40 hours of my week, and I try to do art and stuff in the meantime. I probably will, but for right now, I'm just kind of focusing more on, posting videos of the process. People really enjoy, like, seeing how things are made, so I've been focusing a lot more on creating content for, like, Instagram and Facebook Reels so that people can kind of follow along and kind of see how it's done. And it's also very satisfying pouring resin, just seeing these beautiful colors pour into each other. It's kind of therapeutic on its own. But I probably will in the summer. I love camping and selling my art at festivals, so I think I'll have a lot more to offer this year than I did last year. Since then, I kind of just had a surplus of back stock to sell.
Yeah.
And now I have a lot of new adventurous pieces, so it'll be cool.
I forget when. What were you doing live painting last year?
No, the only thing that has held me back from that, I've been dying to do it for years. I just need to buy an easel. Maybe I'll make one in the space now, but I don't, honestly, that's what's been holding me back.
You could use your woodworking skills and build an easel. Come on.
Well, now I can. Now I have the tools and the space to do so at any hour.
You have, you can make an easel at 2 a.m.
Right. And I want one of the ones that, I'm very specific about it, so building it'll probably be, what I end up doing, because I want one that has, like, that drawer for the paints and stuff, and then it folds up, because it needs to be compactable, if that's a word.
Yeah.
Obviously when you're camping and stuff, you know how it is. I remember your Subaru packed to the rim. Your little wagon.
Oh, yeah.
Just packed to the rim with your keyboard and everything else, So there's always a huge setup. So I'm always thinking about how I can tear stuff down, how I can set it up for a festival. That's its own animal to tackle, But yeah, I definitely want to do that more. Also, like, I don't have a generator or anything, and it's hard to find electrical hookups for that. So that kind of sucks sometimes too. I have like battery operated black lights and stuff that I'll use going on next year. So it'll be cool.
I remember we just had lasers at festivals. Like, we didn't have any actual lights. We just had trippy green lasers. And I'm like, this is like lighting one tiny spot on the ground and nothing else. Everything else is dark. I'm like, why don't we just bring a light? Like, we could just bring
That's just it. It would be nice if they had electrical hookups, but some of the best festivals, just like Crazy River Ranch, are just like a property and people coming together. And
oh yeah. Those are the best festivals. Those are the best though. Yeah. They're great.
I had a great time. That was so much fun.
Yeah, they want me back, so I gotta go back. I gotta get back to Ohio this summer at some point. But
and what kind of stuff have you been doing out there?
Mostly lounge gigs this winter. I am actually in the middle of planning tour dates for a Oregon / Washington / California, kind of like going down whatever interstate
Pacific
that
Northwest.
is. Yeah, because I've never been out there, and I've never been to Washington or Oregon, and I really want to get out there because I've heard it's just really beautiful out there.
It is. I've never been to Oregon, but I've been to Seattle, and it was probably one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. We were in West Seattle, and so it was just west of downtown, And you could see, I mean, one direction you see Mount Rainier, another direction you see all these beautiful gardens and residential areas and parks, and then the other side you have the ocean. Like it literally has a little bit of everything. It's crazy. Definitely a creative vibe there. It's a creative crowd for sure. So you see a lot of neat things.
Yeah, and you have a lot of I mean, out here there's a ton of national parks, but I forget which one it is, but it's right on the ocean. In I think it's Oregon or Washington. I forget which one it is, but I really want to, whatever that one is, I want to go to it.
You're like, whatever it is, sign me up.
I know where it is, but I just don't know the name of it. So.
Right. I hope to move to Colorado in probably a year or so. I've always wanted to live there for the same reason. You know, every way you look is just absolutely gorgeous. And you don't have those mountains here. You have Lake Erie and you have ice and snow and, you know, parts of Ohio are beautiful. But I've lived here my whole life and I'm really ready for a change of scenery and kind of a less bigoted, more creative type of environment. So,
yeah. Oh, yeah. Denver's definitely the place for that. There's a big music and art community in Denver, and a lot of Western cities in general. I feel like just a little more artsy and a little more weird. I feel like there's a lot of just weird quirks about every little town and city in the western of United States. It's really interesting.
That's how I gauge my enjoyment of a city, is the level of weird.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a lot of weird. Oh my God, it's ridiculous.
No shortage.
Montana is just, there's a lot of just very weird people.
I don't know why I thought you were in Colorado. What part of Montana are you in?
I'm in the town name is Havre. It's like north. It's like we're like 40 minutes from the Canadian border. Like.
Okay, nice.
It's way north, but. How's
the weather been?
Not bad lately. It's the last couple weeks. It's been like in the 40s. So
nice.
It's pretty
Not
good. Us. No, I heard you guys got a lot of snow.
Oh my God, we got dumped on last week. I actually got snowed in.
Oh my God.
Down in Minerva, and luckily my work closed, so it didn't cause an issue. But for my work to close, like obviously it was serious. We got over a foot overnight. Nothing was plowed on time, of course, because Akron Road. Nothing was salted. Like it was terrible. I was completely stuck where I was, but it was all right. I was in good company, so.
Yeah, they don't plow usually. Well, they'll do like the interstates maybe, but everything else is kind of just like take it at your own risk.
You should see all the side streets, because they only like plowed the main streets, and then all of a sudden you turn down a road and you're just drifting on a snowbank hoping you make it, you know. that was literally driving last week. It was terrible.
You just pray that something stops the car.
I had to get myself out by putting floor mats underneath my tires. Like that was the only way I was able to get out of that driveway, was to put floor mats in front. I need to start carrying salt.
I've done that before.
It works. It's a handy little hack for sure.
Oh yeah, that and cat litter sometimes.
Yep, that's what I've heard.
Sometimes. Well, I don't know. That works less, I feel like, than floor mats. Floor mats, I feel like, as long as you have it in the right position, it'll work like 70% of the time. The other 30% you're fucked because you're too far in or whatever.
Well, or like my car, I drive a little front-wheel drive Corolla, and apparently that front-wheel drive has some torque, because the first time I did it, the floor mat just flew, like my tire just launched it in my car. So I had to try a little bit of different angle after that, but it was an adventure.
They put all of that car's power in the front wheels.
Literally. It was like the opposite of a T-Rex. All the power's in the front.
Oh my God. Well, my Subaru's still surviving. It's still going.
like a champ. That thing's probably seen more venues than I ever have.
I mean, I got it back in 2019. So it's been 3 years. Yeah.
Oh, it's crazy.
Fuck, yeah. That's crazy. I feel like the pandemic just started yesterday. Like it's just I don't know. It's just I don't know what.
Pandemic the sequel.
Yeah, 2022 is just Pandemic the sequel.
Right, literally. It's been crazy. You know, I was just talking about that with one of my friends the other day. Like, it literally feels like we just went into lockdown, and it's like we're all hoping to get back to normal, but really, after something like that, I mean, we haven't had a pandemic like this since the Spanish flu in 1918. Like, you don't go back to how it was before, because it's such a profound change. It's shifted everybody's perspective, and I feel like it's kind of interesting and bittersweet the way that it's affected people, because I feel like it's just polarized the entire population. You know, just like with human rights issues and with you know, specifically with medical health and, you know, anti-mask, anti-vax, you know, all this stuff has been completely polarized. And I feel like it's sort of broken the world up into people who consider others and people who do not. And it just kind of makes it easier to see true colors. And I feel like it sort of shuffled the deck a little bit. And what has happened for all of us since then kind of just depended on how we reacted to it. You know, everybody is living a different reality now because it completely changed everything. It's nuts just walking around and being like, oh shit, my mask. I need a mask to go in here, you know, and that's just the norm.
Well, like, I feel like it's kind of given people either one side or another on a giant on like a topic that affects everybody.
Yeah.
And it's kind of given people like that versus mentality, where it's like you can either choose this or this, and everybody has to deal with this issue. Like everybody has to deal with it. Yeah. So we kind of have that issue now, where it's like it's so big it covers everybody and it affects everybody. So so people can either choose this or that, and I think that's what is really the problem here, because with a lot of those other issues, especially in this country, like, you know, the abortion issue and like gun violence and stuff like that, healthcare. You kind of there's a percent of the population that kind of avoids talking about it, doesn't confront it at all.
Yeah.
And now this whole COVID thing has you can't avoid it, so you have to pick a side now. And it's kind of just created like this versus mentality, which now it's kind of it's gotten kind of ridiculous now. It's like, at what point do we just stop fighting and start just working things out, you know?
Yeah, it's something I won't even argue anymore. Like, I don't even really share my opinion specifically, because it's either going to start an argument that I don't have the energy or the willingness to participate in, or, you know, it's just our time is limited. That's another thing. It's kind of made us all face our own mortality, and we all know somebody that's been affected by it if we haven't ourselves, and it's really made people look at it. But some people just, I feel like, I don't know, they're just incapable of trying to work past it. A lot of people are still stuck in the negative and the kind of conspiracy thing. And I grew up, I volunteered in hospitals. Like I said, I grew up in a medical family, and it doesn't seem like that big a deal. Let's all protect each other, but not everyone feels that way, and that's okay. Everybody's different, but I'm going to do what I think is best. Everyone else is going to do what they think is best, and we're going to see what happens.
So. And you can make moons.
I can make moons, yes. I have more moon making time than I've ever possessed. So.
Moon making time.
It's really opened up my moon making skills.
Oh.
You want some moons? I can get you some moons.
How much for a moon?
Right. I charge per moon, so
per moon.
You know.
Ooh. Okay.
I only price my items in units of moon.
Units of moon. Dollars per moon, you know?
Right. It's my own unique business model, TM, you know?
Moons. Oh, gosh. Oh.
Uh-oh, there's a story.
Oh, moons. Moons. I don't know why I find that so funny. Oh my gosh.
It's a powerful thing, man. The moon's a powerful thing.
So, where can they check you out at?
I'm on Facebook and Instagram. My tag is @RubyBluesCollab, RubyBluesCollab. You can search on those. I have a lot of photos and videos.
That was a lot of sass.
Well, I'm full of my sap runneth over since I was born, so.
That's fair. That's fair.
Keep things interesting. But yeah, on social media, I try to post a lot of videos of, in-process things and finished products, and anybody can contact me. I'm pretty much always open to custom orders, so if you see a piece that you like and you want to maybe change something about it or add something, I'm always open to that, so.
Heck yeah, and all your links will be in the description below, and if you're watching on Spotify, I still can't find where the description is on Spotify. I have no idea. I think they took that feature off. But if you want to go check out Angela, Ruby Blues, Facebook, all the links.
All of the links.
All the links.
And all of the art.
Oh my gosh. And you can check me out on Instagram at Davey_Squires and on Facebook, Davey Squires Music. And on YouTube, if you're listening to this on YouTube, Davey Squires. And thank you, Angela, for coming on this week.
Yes, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Great times. And yeah, that is it for this episode. I will catch you guys another week. Bye-bye.
See you on the flippity flop.
Floppity flippity flop.